you're asking yourself, who are these crazy people willing to drive around the country for a whole year? You aren't alone. We've been asking ourselves this question too. As we prepare for this journey of American exploration and self-discovery, we too are wondering how we got to this place and why things have turned out this way. We decided for the answers we had to go back to our roots.
Blowing the country from one end to kind of gypsy tour in it. Do it.
Did you say it's a gypsy tour?
Yeah, gypsy touring it from one town to another.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what I call gypsy touring.
Oh.
I like that.
But there ain't nothing wrong with that. It's good. You get it out of your system, and when you decide one place or the other that you want to live, you'll be happy because you got that bug away from you.
Hit the go. Hit the
Go.
go button.
Action.
Huh?
Action.
Action, alright. Are you not going anymore, not recording?
Action.
How am I starting this?
So these are all, there's a year on them, they're historic homes. This is one of the schools that Shane went to in a line of schools starting from kindergarten. So I believe in kindergarten through 2nd grade he was in Schaumburg. And then we went to Heritage in Streamwood. Had a little problem there, so I sent him to the Catholic school. That'll shape him up, yeah, right. And these nuns couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah, we're at the school I went to, one grade school, St. John's. Looks like it's out of business now, so not such a bad thing.
So I sent him here for 6th and 7th grade. He got kicked out of St. Mary's at the 7th grade level. St. John's, he wasn't working out. 7th and 8th grade here, 6th and 7th here, he wasn't working out. He got kicked out again at another school. Couldn't behave. So put him in the public school at Teft for 8th grade, where he proceeded to try to get kicked out of there. Pulled the fire alarm. I had to go to the school counselor.
See, Mom? You want me to be a bad girl?
No.
So don't send me to these schools.
So weekly I had to go into counseling with my 2 boys because they were behavioral problems. Well, it's emotional when you go back in time, especially for a mom. You got to think about all of this stuff, and I go back and I think about what Mom thinks about is the day you were born. You know, and you know that's what brings tears to your eyes. You know, the day he was born. He did graduate 8th grade, pulling and screaming. Went to high school. In his younger years, I had him tested. His IQ was quite high. In 2nd grade, he had the IQ of an 18-year-old. Finally made it through sophomore year, and at which point his father and I parted our ways, and Shane became very emotionally upset, and he said, forget about it. It's not exactly what he said, but I'm not doing this. I'm out of here. And he did. He left school and me, and he took off. Didn't hear from him for quite a while.
Yes, remember when I told you I used to scalp tickets? Well, that's where the cab driver would wait for me. And it was a corner store, not a gas station. The cab driver I would scalp tickets at school, so I'd only stay there for about an hour. And the cab driver got in trouble for picking me up and dropping me off, then coming back an hour later and picking me up, knowing it was illegal for me to ditch school, so he had to wait up the corner for me. There you go.
That ended all of his educational years under my roof, and then he became self-educated as years went on. He expanded on his high IQ, which I'm proud of. He expanded instead of abused and went a different way, as in some serial killers. So I'm quite proud of my son.
Yeah, so I grew up here, and this is Crow Street, Nippert. Amy likes the name Nippert. There you go. This is my childhood home. Oh, I guess you want to keep it in the shot, right? Right? And how old did I tell you I was when I'd live here? Probably up to the age of like 13 or 14. I feel weird though. I don't want to stop and film in front of it. But I guess we are. When we lived here, it was a brand new suburb. This kid across the street here hit me in the head with a baseball bat and knocked me down those stairs. This is the place I ran away from, and cops would come here all the time. Different. Could you imagine the police coming here though? Come on, come on.
That's why they care and they love and they cry. Because they're the animal that gave birth to that. That's what it is. They're an animal, all right. And that's what animals do. They take care of their young and they protect and feed, you know, from the time they're little babies.
Well, what does the man do then?
Feeds the whole family.
I'm just gonna float that around MySpace now.
Everybody who knows me knows that's how I am. That's how I talk. So.
You guys are retarded.
I was a pretty angry young man growing up. I started writing, publishing, and producing materials of a questionable nature to vent my rage. I've been called a monster because I've produced books that have been deemed obscene, art shows that have been shut down, and thrown events that have been raided by the police. Some say I put out dirty comics, but I gotta tell you, I never put them out because they were dirty, only because I was told I couldn't put them out.
And hello again. Comic books. They aren't just for kids anymore. There's a whole new sort of comic written for adults. It's called the zine. There are thousands of zine titles in print. Some have little to do with the traditional comic book view of truth, justice, and the American way. One in my hand here, it's called Boiled Angel. This got its creator into some mighty hot water.
I got a look at it, and I knew right away that what I was looking at was obscenity.
Baggish booked Michael Diana on obscenity charges, a crime with no precise definition. By law, folks in individual communities must decide what is obscene in their own hometowns.
Most of the people that see the art, I think, understand it some and enjoy it.
And one of the issues that came out in the trial is it's not always the function of art to soothe or to simply depict comfortable situations. Sometimes art has to depict things that are very offensive, very horrifying.
He became the first cartoonist in America to be jailed for his art. Here's more from NBC's Ron Challenger.
Diana said he was satisfied with the sentence.
No.
Happy that there's no free speech in Swanton County.
That's good. Will you still continue to do your form of art?
No, I'm going to give up till I move out of state someday, 3 years from now when probation's over.
After his comments, Diana was then loaded into a sheriff's van for the short ride back to the county jail, where he'll spend one more night.
As things stand right now, Michael and his attorney may get a chance to plead their case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. To tell us about his story is Michael Diana. Also joining us as we talk with Michael here is a publisher known widely in the counterculture world who took Michael on as a client when no other person or community or company would distribute his work. Via satellite from Chicago is Mr. Shane Bugbee of a production company there that distributes this stuff. This is a scene of the Flintstones, but like you've never seen before. Fred there gone wild with some type of, looks like he's got a Vegematic or something like that. And he's chopped up Betty and who's the other one?
My childhood wasn't bad. My parents were good people. They were just struggling so hard to get by, it affected all of us.
The Osgood File. I'm Charles Osgood. It's amazing how everyday things we can take for granted
Look at all those
suddenly become obsolete simply
This is Calumet City, Illinois. This is where I grew up. This is the house I lived in from the time I was born until I was 18 when I ran for my life. Calumet City was always kind of a seedy place. You'd see a lot of weird things going on, you know, a lot of drug addicts lying on the streets and stuff. Yeah, it was always a lot of crime, you know, growing up. and it just didn't seem like that big of a deal. You know, I remember a lady collapsed over here one day walking down the street, and my mom went over to help her, and turns out she had escaped from some guy who had slipped her some kind of drug and a drink.
A memory from Amy's childhood.
Oh, let me think.
Growing up in the Calumet City house, you know, of course.
Ooh, I'm trying to think of something that... Oh, I remember a birthday party she had. It was so sad. We found a little chihuahua. I actually called the newspapers, put in that we found a cute little chihuahua that was making itself at home at our house. And damned if on her birthday they called, and that little chihuahua was taken away, and I looked terrified going with those people. Remember that?
This is the station where my father was a fireman. He was a fireman for 27 years, I think. He used to come back from fires sometimes in the morning, and he would tell us what happened the night before, and he would talk about, we'd ask him, Dad, were there any crispy critters in the fire last night? And he'd say yes or no. A crispy critter is someone who was burned in the fire, usually a transient or a homeless person or something.
I was trying to do the right thing, you know, because we thought somebody might be heartbroken. Your birthday was ruined, just truly ruined, and it was my fault because, you know, because I tried to do the right thing by, you know, I think, well, if my dog was lost, I'd want somebody to bring it back. But I'll never forget that. That dog didn't want to go with them. It wanted to stay with us.
So this is my high school, and it looks pretty much the same. My elementary school and my junior high have both been torn down. I was out graffitiing one time, and I had to go home because I had, you know, a curfew. And so I told them to go paint a giant A on the doors, and the next morning when I got to school, the janitors were out here cleaning this giant A off the doors. So Calumet City, aside from being crime-ridden, was pretty Christian or Catholic, and my family was atheists, and all our neighbors were Catholic, and all the kids went to Catholic school. When my sister got to be a little older, they wouldn't let their children play with her because they said she was going to hell. And in the end, really, their kids didn't turn out any better than my sister and I. So this used to be the Acres Motel. I used to stay at the Acres Motel when I was in high school. We would get in trouble, and my parents would tell us to take our stuff and get out, and take only what we paid for. Do you have any good memories?
Oh yeah, of course.
You remember anything from school? Any outstanding memories?
Oh, let me think. Let me see. I didn't know you were going to ask me this, or I would have. Well, I remember that you always. Oh, I remember your favorite little dress was a little nurse dress that you had, and you'd run down the street wearing this little striped dress. Your favorite little dress.
So this is the street I grew up on, Freeland. You like living here?
No, I don't want to take my picture.
Oh, okay. Why is that? Are you on America's Most Wanted?
No. I don't take
So you like living here?
Yes. It's quiet.
Who's Rudy?
A neighbor. For some reason, you really took to Rudy. Oh God, he was father of 3 kids. Probably in his 40s. But
and how old was Amy at the time?
Oh, she had to be 3 or 4. But she'd go down the street, sit in a porch, and I'd look out. She's sitting on a porch next to him, and I don't know what they talked about, but she seemed to like him, and she'd go down and sit in a porch, and they'd just be sitting there.
You know, nowadays people would think that's strange.
Yes, I know. But if you knew Rudy, no, he wasn't. You know, he was nice. But she was only 3 or 4. You don't care about things like that when you're 3 or 4. Nowadays, you couldn't do that. People are too weird. But then she would go down there and sit on the porch right next to Rudy, and they'd just be sitting there. I never knew what they talked about. They just sat there. Unless he talked about being a butcher or something, I have no idea what he talked about to you.
What year was that, do you think?
Oh, God. Boy, time. Let's see, what year were you born? I forgot.
The decade we've been married has been a whirlwind. We've had our ups and downs, and certainly we'll be having a lot more.
He died of an overdose of pills, officially listed as suicide. But a controversial new book called Dana Plato's Last Breath questions that death, and here's part of it.
I will never, ever, ever let you down. I'll always be there for you.
This is Robert. Dana died.
What are you talking about?
I don't know what happened. I woke up and she wasn't breathing.
With us live, Plato's ex-mother-in-law, Joni Richardson. Also with us, Shane Bugbee and his wife, Amy Bugbee. They authored this book, Dana Plato's Last Breath.
All right, you motherfuckers! Are you fucking ready? Are you fucking ready?
Strangest thing are the amount of cops that have been hanging out at this table.
Basically a slur on Dana Plato. She's not here to defend herself.
It's not a slur. There's nothing in the book that is not factual. Everything about her life happened, and questions certainly are raised. Questions are raised about Joni's involvement in helping her to get Loratab, a drug that when mixed with Valium is poison.
I did not help her to get Loratab. I did not
And
help
questions are raised about Robert Mintoska's involvement as well. Yes, he took photos of her when she was blue.
I wonder why the police never contacted me, the last
So,
person.
sir, you're not going to answer about this photo of Miss Plato's death?
To live here.
Well, that was my old 3-ring radio office, huh?
Yep, this was the studio.
We went to visit a wise friend for some answers.
See if you're going to send me home, though.
How did we get along? You accept you for what you are, you accept me for what I am. You like weird stuff, I don't happen to like it. I'll go along with you to a certain degree, then after that I'll tell you, I'm going home, that's all. I'm not here to judge you. You like weird stuff, you like weird stuff. If I like it, I like it.
It's not about the neighbors, it's about me and what people... It's really, all this noise. It's just about what people's impressions are of us, and, people that don't know us and people that do know us. It's not about people in the neighborhood. I'm not trying to blaspheme the neighborhood or nothing.
I think you're nice. That's what I can say. I don't know. You've always been fair and honest with me. You've always... I don't know. I think we did that in our life. I mean, I don't know how to explain that you are a nice young kid. You've never done anything to hurt me and hurt anybody that I know of. And what people say about you, don't let it bother you, because people see what they want to see. People are afraid of what they want to be afraid of. They want to judge you. If you got a friend likes you good, bad, and evil. And if you're doing the best you can with what you got, and you're honest as you can be, it will win out. It takes time.
Creating a business where there was none before, while at the same time living out a childhood dream. They've topped the top on just such a fantasy in Ely.
Shane Bugbee and his wife Amy needed to support themselves in the Vermilion Range town of Ely. To do that, they started a business to sell the blueberry soda they developed in their kitchen. Their usual taste has already captured a following.
Homegrown soda, however, is making a comeback thanks to Shane Bugbee.
You know, what do you want to be when you grow up? A cowboy, an astronaut, a soda pop maker, you know? I don't know. It was one of those fantasies, so I really can't even believe I'm doing it today.
Shane and his wife Amy are doing it today because they moved to Ely only a few months ago to take care of her father in nearby Whitten.
This last April he had a stroke, and so I came up here to kind of see how he was doing and never left.
I plan on getting an old school bottling machine up here in the next year. I really want to start bottling my own stuff up here.
That means Amy and Shane plan to put down permanent roots on the Vermilion Range.
I could definitely be very happy in the soda business, so if the people of Ely want to have us, we'll stay and do soda forever.
In Ely, Dave Anderson, CBS 3.
Wow, you really did?
Well, yeah.
Of course you did. Well, you're from Antarctica, so I'm surprised they talked to you. I'm surprised you have such a rapport in town.
Well, I'd heard about it, and I'm like, are you sure? I mean, people say it's just ridiculous. Are you sure? They seem like nice people. So I'm like, Google it. So I Googled it, and I found your the explanation. I was like, actually read what these people have to say before, you know, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah. These guys owe me a blueberry soda pop.
This is it, huh, Cheyenne? This your favorite move ever?
No. This was one of the worst. Because it's total chaos. You know, I'm excited about the future, but all of this is really crazy.
Why?
Oh, just because, you know, I'm going to come back in a week to, you know, try to salvage the rest of this stuff and, you know, see what's going on with my dad.
Like I said, you kids, you got to learn someplace you got to stand. Especially when you ain't doing anything to hurt anybody.
Come on! Every night I'm in a different town. I'm kinda like to get around.
Having collected this footage, we did find answers, but perhaps they weren't exactly to the questions we thought we had. This is basically the story of two outcasts who fell in love and tried to make sense of the world.
Live like an angel and die like a devil. Gonna burn in hell, that's where I'm gonna be. Got no worries, I don't care what you do. I'm gonna walk all over you. Loving hard and getting high. Hell's the place I'm gonna die. Live like an angel, die like a devil. Got a place in hell reserved for me. Live like an angel, die like a devil. Gonna burn in hell, it's where I'm gonna be. Hear me coming, just get out of my way. I'm here tomorrow and I'm gone today. Path I'm leading, got no easy track. I got the devil on my back. Live like an angel, die like a devil. Gonna place in hell reserved for me. Live like an angel, die like a devil. Gonna burn in hell, it's where I'm gonna be.